Scotland's renewable sector is now 3 times bigger than it was in 2009. Wave and tidal energy is still only a small part of this, but it's growing as technology is developed and tested in Scotland's waters, and it's been estimated that it could ultimately provide 20% of the UK's current electricity requirements.
For us here in Scotland, it's not just about 1 or 2 projects or pilots. What we've got here in Scotland is an actual ecosystem that is growing here. So we've got a planning and consenting system that's able to bring forward these wave and tidal projects. We've also got world-leading test and development facilities to help us grow these projects and to create even more potential for those. But we also have a supply chain which is growing.
We issue leases and licences for activities that happen offshore. One of the important things that we do is engage with the sector. So marine energy in particular, they have had 10 years or so of development. And it's important that when we are issuing them with seabed agreements, that we do that in a way that doesn't block them or limit them from their development activities. So that means developers can come to us when they're ready to apply. They're not waiting on a leasing round or driven by certain timescales that are outside their control.
Given the impressive figures for renewables generation from both onshore and offshore wind and even hydro schemes, it isn't unreasonable to ask why we need wave and tidal development.
It's predictable because I can tell you 20 years or 2,000 years from now at 3:30 on a Tuesday how much tide will be flowing through that channel, because it's all based on the relative positions and orientations of the planets.
The good thing about wave power is that the energy is effectively stored by the sea, not for long, but for a reasonable period, which means that whereas you'll get a storm coming through and the wind turbines will produce a lot of power, the wave machines will continue to produce power as the seas continue to roll past for 24 or 48 hours after the wind has passed. So you get a better distribution of power.
The major array is located in the inner sound of the Pennant of Firth between Stroma and the mainland of Scotland. It's probably the best location in the UK for tidal resource. It's the water swapping from the North Sea to the Atlantic and back again, and it's squeezed through that inner sound, and it really accelerates its flow, and that's where we can maximise the energy that we extract.
As a country, Scotland is incredibly well positioned to take advantage of marine energy. At the European Marine Energy Centre in Orkney, more ocean energy converters have been tested than anywhere else in the world. The expertise which has been developed at EMEC is matched by the incredible natural resources which provide ideal conditions for testing and generating wave and tidal energy.
So we have really strong resources here, both waves and tides. We get the full force of the Atlantic Ocean crashing against our shores, as you can see behind me today. And for tides, because Orkney is an archipelago, the islands concentrate the flow of the tides as they flow through the islands, and that happens every 6 hours.
There's also world-class facilities like the Flow Wave Ocean Energy Research Facility in Edinburgh, which gives developers the opportunity to test small-scale devices at the proof of concept stage before moving on to larger scale trials at EMEC.
We started with some very small models and some smaller tanks, but some of our first most significant testing was here in FlowWave, and we've tested in FlowWave numerous times, and wave tank testing is a really important part of developing technologies and de-risking it before you move to larger scales and start building ocean-going prototypes.
Another key strength which makes this the ideal place to develop wave and tidal energy devices is the well-developed infrastructure. Due in part to the legacy of the oil and gas industry, we have a supply chain which has shown its ability to adapt legacy skills to the marine energy sector.
In the early days, developers used to come to Orkney and they used to tell us what they needed. Developers come to us now and we tell them how to do it, and even in the early days when they're building their device, how we can make it easier for the installation and for the recovery of their equipment.
We build items, composite items that get shipped all over the world, but the one theme that's been going all the way through that we've been doing for the last 20 years is in marine renewables. And we started off 20 years ago doing the Palamas first seagoing prototypes. And we're seeing the results now of where finally we're seeing the numbers starting to increase. And hopefully in the future they're going to increase even more.
Well, I like to think we're a global leader, and it just comes naturally, so we live and breathe it. And we've got a hunger for it to see the development of all these different devices being a success.
And then there's our range of ports and harbours, with the expertise and facilities which are a prerequisite for accessing wave and tidal sites. For a country the size of Scotland, the resources to make marine energy a significant contributor to the renewable sector are abundant. Whether it's the natural marine environment, the infrastructure to support innovation, or the supply chain to help transform plans into reality, it amounts to an unbeatable package for the sector.
We're in a climate emergency, and if we want to get to net zero, we need all the renewables we can get our hands on.
And what we're going to see around the world is that it's coastal communities and island communities that are going to be impacted hardest and first by climate change. And that's why what happens here in Scotland and here in Orkney is tremendously important.
We're looking at projects around the world, really. So, you know, we could take the Scottish technology that we've made, built, and designed in Scotland, and put it all around the world.
We've shown that the technology works, and now we need to commercialise it over the next, say, 5 years. And we're looking at having viable commercial technology by about 2030.
If someone tells us they want a 10 megawatt wave farm offshore in 5 years' time, we get the engineers together and we deliver it, because that's what engineers do. Give engineers a challenge, they'll solve it.